Hey memers and streamers, it's Fracken here again. So this is the very first video on the review of the book Playing to Win by David Sirlin. This is the prologue section and it's kind of an intro to the book and what it's about. So let's have a look. So what I've done here is I've actually highlighted certain parts that I'm going to go through and read and discuss. There's other parts that I don't think are nearly as helpful that are in between, so we're just going to kind of focus on that and see where it goes. Okay, so imagine a majestic mountain nirvana of gaming. At its peak are fulfillment, fun, and even transcendence. Most people couldn't care less about this mountain peak because they have other life issues that are more important to them and other peaks to pursue. This is kind of an important thing. Some people, gaming is important to them, sometimes it's not. It all depends on whether you enjoy things like skill building, how much you play. It's all up to you. There are a few, though, who are not at this peak, but who would be very happy there. These are the people that I am talking to with this book. Some of them, they don't need any help. They're already on the journey. Most, though, only believe that they are on that journey, but actually are not. This is important. They get stuck in a chasm at the mountain's base, a land of scrubdom. Here, they are imprisoned in their own mental constructs of made-up game rules. Now, this reminds me of when I actually first started playing Crucible. It had been years since I'd played a competitive game online, and there was a certain flow and play style that I had kind of fallen into, mostly from playing PvE content, and I was trying to translate that into playing in Crucible. And the fact of the matter is it just didn't work. Because my aim wasn't all that great when I first started, I really heavily relied on things like auto rifles. And if you're standing there blasting away with an auto rifle and you're missing, 75% of your shots, that's a lot of time for another really good player to basically either just 2-tap you with a hand cannon from across the map, or 3-tap you, 1-tap you with a sniper rifle, or saunter up to you, shotgun you in the face, or just beat the hell out of you. And it was actually that melee thing that frustrated me the most, because that was one thing that just drove me crazy. I would sit there just plowing away with my auto rifle, and somebody would just walk up, oh, look at this interesting guy, bam, bam, dead. And lather, rinse, respawn. Anyhow, moving on. Playing to win is largely the process of shedding the mental constructs that traps players in the chasm who would be happier at the mountain peak. This is important. This is what I actually did to improve my gameplay, was I essentially changed everything about how I play. I changed the weapons. I changed how I aimed. I changed the sensitivity. I changed my key maps. I changed my tactics. I changed absolutely everything about how I play, because quite simply, the way that I was playing did not work. So I had to shed those mental constructs and create new ones that were actually successful at what I was doing instead of the ones that I'd had. A lot of people get rubbed the wrong way by this stuff because they think I want to apply playing to win to everyone. I don't. It's not that I think everyone should be on this particular peak or that everyone would even want to be. There are other peaks in life, probably better ones. But those who are stuck in this chasm really should know their positions and how to reach a happier place. And this is important as well. If you're getting bent out of shape because you're losing in whatever favorite game it is that you're playing, chances are you probably wish that your skills were better. If it's seriously pissing you off, there's a reason. On the other hand, if you're just there to blow off a little bit of steam once in a while, then it's probably not worth it to invest a bunch of time to improve that skill. But getting back to the thing of where, if you're losing and it's frustrating you, and you do spend a lot of time doing this, it's, say, borderline a hobby or literally a hobby, and what you do in your spare time, it very well might be actually worth the time to sit back, take inventory of what you're doing, and start treating it as an actual skill to skill build. Competitive games require military virtues, immediacy, emergency tactics, and the end justifies the means. Real life requires civic virtues like kindness, understanding, justice, and mercy. This is something that I think is incredibly important. One of the things that I've noticed, and this probably goes back to the fact that I'm not a terribly good player, my mindset when I go into a match makes a huge, huge difference in the outcome. I can have anywhere from a 5-to-1 to even a 10-to-1 spread or more in performance, just based on how I'm feeling before I go in. If I go in with the mindset of I'm going there to kick ass and I can hold that mindset the entire time, I tend to do fairly well. On the other hand, if it's kind of a rough day health-wise and I'm kind of dragging my ass and I feel like I'd rather just kind of lay in a corner and lick my wounds, so to speak, it never goes well. It never goes well. So the way that you think about it is probably just as important as the actual skills themselves. Moving on. And yet, playing to win has valuable life lessons to teach that go beyond the scope of games. Before we're ready to talk about that, though, it's time to start winning. Okay, so let's rewind to the very beginning of this particular part here. The valuable life lessons here, this cannot be understated. It's actually a type of advice that I tend to give young people that are coming to me for advice, whether it's, whether they want to learn to write software, they want to become, hardware engineers, they want to, whatever skill it is that they want to build. Even if they are not intending to build it to a high level, my advice to them is always the same. You should take something in life, no matter what it is that you find. Obviously, it's going to have to be something that interests you, but pick a subject, whether it's music, whether it's a particular sport, whatever it is, and build that skill to the absolute highest peak that you are capable of building it, to the point where you are generally the best at that skill that you know. And the reason I give people this advice is very simple. If you've never built a skill to a high level, you don't really understand what it takes to do it. I mean, this sounds very obvious and straightforward, but it's not. You'll notice that when we tend to see, especially young kids that are very good at say, music or sports or whatever it is, will always do the same thing. Look at the talent of that young man. But what you're not seeing is the fact, let's take a kid that's an amazing piano player, and the kid's only, say, 7, 8 years old. People will always do the same thing. That is amazing. He was born with that. No, he wasn't born with anything. He popped out the same way you and I did. He couldn't talk and he was wet, naked, and stupid. What really happened is his parents sat his ass down in front of that piano. Eventually, he got a taste for it to the point where he enjoys it, and he probably spends 4 to 6 hours a day at that piano doing that skill. This is an important thing to remember. It does take some commitment to build a skill. Now, gaming obviously isn't a skill that everybody is going to want to build to the level where they're a world-class player. But you should at least be willing to put in whatever effort and make whatever changes you need to build your skill to the level that makes you happy. Even if it's just doing a little bit of aim practice so that you can land your shots more often, maybe improve your movement a little bit, improve your awareness, whatever it is that would, benefit your particular game, your play style, and what it is that you want to do. And I can tell you from personal experience, you probably think it's going to be a big waste of time to invest that time, but it's not. When you play or do any skill at a high level, it is such I don't even know how to put this into words. It's almost a transcending experience. Like in the gaming context, the first time that you catch movement out of the corner of your eye on your screen and you whip those crosshairs as hard as you can, but you still make the shot, you're going to be on cloud 9 for the rest of the day. It's going to blow your mind that you were able to do it. And now, everyone does that kind of thing by accident once in a while, but the important part is when you've put in time and effort and you've done that intentionally and you can do it over and over, there's no other experience quite like having a skill like that. Remember, memers and streamers, the growth of this channel is in your hands. If you like the content in this video or you found it helpful, hitting that like button tells YouTube to share it with other people. And feel free to share this video with anyone that you think might find it helpful or interesting. If you want to make sure you can find me later, you can always bookmark the video or you can hit that subscribe button. Subscribers will always know when I push out new content, and it is probably the best way that you can support this channel. The next video is going to be about the Getting Started chapter, and yeah, it'll be the next video in this playlist. I hope to see you there. GG's and 7 3s.